Hello everyone, my name is Guilherme and welcome to another video. In this video, we'll be learning a quick and easy way to import realistic or cartoon characters with animations into Cave Engine using Mixamo. And this is all we'll also work with other characters. I will show you how you can do it with Fab or Sketchfab or whatever. So this video will be very simple and I will start a new project here in Cave to showcase how to do it. Let's go ahead and close this version here, this project that I have, and create a new one. Okay, so I'll click here to open Cave. This is the project manager. If you're new to Cave Engine, I do have a video linked here below that will walk you through the first 90 minutes that you have in the engine, so this will be very helpful. And also it's worth mentioning that I'm using Cave 1.2 that just got released, and if you're watching this video as soon as it is out, you may have the chance to get a launch discount because this version is huge. So I'll be linking the engine here in the description for you to learn more. Okay, so I'll click here to create a new project. I will call this YouTube Mixamo demo, if I can type, of course. And I'll click here to create a new project. Simple like that, the project is created. You can see the default scene here. Let's ignore this scene for a moment and ignore Cave real quick and jump to Mixamo. Mixamo is a free website. Adobe purchased it, but it is still free and you can still download and do whatever. And this website have been running for many years, and it does have a bunch of 3D animation using motion capture for you to apply to your existing characters, or to browse existing characters as well if you don't even want to bother creating an existing character. And it works with many engines including Cave, so you'll see here right now how easy it is. So I will link the Mixamo website here. You need to create an account first. I'm already logged in, so this is why I'm seeing the browse character here. If you're not logged in, there will be a login or create account for you to get started. I'll click browse characters, and it will immediately show me this tab here. And in this tab, you can see that I have a list of a bunch of characters, and here on the right, I have a preview for this character. It will load it will load the materials very soon, but we can select the characters. Let's say, for example, that I want this one, a paladin, and they will showcase here for me the character. So it may take a while to load, depending on your internet. Actually, my internet is almost a gig, and it is still taking a while, but anyways. Okay, I had to F5 the page, but you can see the paladin here. And for our example, I will actually use the SWAT guy simply because it's the guy that I had opened it before. So I want to make sure that you have the exact same result as I showcased to you in a moment ago. So I'll click here, wait for it to load. If it doesn't load for some reason, update the page and it will F5 the page and it will load. So here you go. I have the SWAT character. I'm not sure anymore if this is the same character. I think it is. Yes, it is. Because there is another guy that looks like this here in the list. I think this one, the gas mask, it's very similar. Anyways, so once I have this, I can literally click here to download the character, or I can take advantage of the fact that, well, maybe I want animations for this character, and I can go ahead and start browsing animations for this character once it is selected. So I can click here in the animations tab. But before that, it's worth mentioning that if you have a custom character, let's say that you downloaded the character from Fab or Sketchfab or something like that, you can click here in upload character and it will walk you through a process of uploading and rigging the character. It's pretty straightforward, and I'm pretty sure that you are already aware of it already, so I'm not going to do this. But this will allow you to create a different character other than the ones here in the list, which is very helpful, of course. I want this one, so I'll click here in animation, and let's go ahead and find an idle animation, which is like of course, if I click any animation here, it will load and show to me. But let's go ahead and find an idle animation. You can see defeated. Here we go. So I'll click here. I'll search for idle, which is the character doing nothing. It's funny because this is like a SWAT guy and I'm having the most generic idle animation in the world, but here we go, you can see it is idling just fine. So to download this and put this into Cave, all I have to do is click here to download. I'm not gonna touch any of the settings. I'll leave it as FBX, 30 frames per second, no keyframe reduction, and with skin because I want to download the animation with the character since we don't have the character in the engine yet. So click here to download, and it will download and appear here in my downloading tab. I'll pause the video, and as soon as the download is complete, I will unpause and we will import this into Cave. All right, so the FBX is downloaded as you can see here. So what I will do is go back to Cave and I'll simply drag and drop the FBX into the asset browser, or I can right click and click import assets and locate the FBX. I already have it open here, so let me drag and drop. Once I do this, Cave will parsing the FBX file and it will show the importer list. Here you can select if you want to create a subfolder or not. I want in this case. I don't want to mess with the physics because I'll use a custom physics for this character. And the filters, well, everything is enabled just like how we want. You can see here that the character do have the materials, the armature, the textures here. All the textures are here. The meshes and the animation, which is like the idle. I can actually rename this to, I don't know, P idle, P from player, just for me to recognize this animation. And the entity template here is basically the a template that the engine will create for you to reconstruct this same object here. So if you're talking about the scene, a complicated static scene that you created in Blender, the entity template will try to reproduce this into the engine as well. I'll rename this to player, and that's it. I'll click import assets. So it will optimize the mesh and it will create a folder for me for this mesh with the name of the FBX. This is why it is idle 10, because I have 10 other FBXs in my downloads folder called idle. So I can rename this a player. And if I double click this folder, you can see that it will show all the textures and everything. And if I double click the player template, in this case, it did not import, it did not include the player here, but we can edit this to actually include the character. So I do have two meshes here, and you can easily identify a mesh in Cave because it will have a gray rectangle here below. So this is an indication that it is a mesh. If the rectangle here is this color here is blue, it is an entity template. And just to make this complete, if it is blue, it is a scene. Okay, so let me actually drag and drop those two meshes here into the viewport, and you can see that we already have the character. There is only one problem. You can see I do have two different entities and they are running the same animation but in different timings, which is very bad. So this is why you see here everything is kind of crazy, glitching around. So what you want is to only have a single entity doing this. So I will select the second entity here. It doesn't matter which one you select actually, and I'll expand the mesh component and I'll copy this mesh component using this clipboard here icon. I've clicked this, so now I'll press delete to delete this mesh, and I'll select the other mesh here that I do have the main animation going on, and I'll right click and paste from clipboard. And if you have a different model, a different 3D model with multiple meshes, you may want to do this for all of these meshes. In this way, you can literally put everything as a single mesh, and I'll actually rename this to mesh. And I rename the root entity here as player. So with this, it's literally this. We have the character here. I can click here to select the player. I can right click and create, for example, a physics character component. And it will show if I press the key 3 or if I go ahead here in the viewport settings and enable draw debug physics. You can see that I can see the debug visualization for the character component physics. If I go to offset and move it up by a meter, it will probably be a little bit better. Let me reduce this. Let's actually make this guy 1.8 meters tall. and I'll make the radius a bit shorter just to cover the basics of my character. Now I'll press 3 again to disable this, and this character should have physics already. So if I go back to scene, clicking here, and if I drag and drop the player, if I move it up and press F5 to play the game, it will save all the dirty projects, all the dirty assets. In this case, it is taking a little bit longer because it is saving the textures for the first time, and the resolution for the textures are very high resolution. It's not going to save them every time, so it should be much faster to save and load the project after this first one. So you can see the character already followed. And this is exactly what you expect. So let me stop the game. I'll move this down, select by and press G to make it touch the ground. And I'll actually go ahead and download more animations to show you how it works. Let me actually delete as well those 2 lamps because I don't think they are helping us here. It is already looking very good. Not gonna lie. Let me go ahead and download more animations because there's a secret here as well. So for example, let's actually download a walk animation for this character. This one probably. I'll click here in Mixamo so it follows the camera. You can see a walk animation. I don't like this one. Let's try this one. Oh, it's still weird. Let's try a third one. I don't know what's up with Mixamo walking animations, but I really tend to dislike them all. Let me know in the comments if you like walk animations from Mixamo, but they are all weird. I don't know why. Let's go to the first one actually, the second. This one, yeah. It will do the trick for us, it will be better. And I'll also take an opportunity to show you something important. Because you can see this animation, it is looping weirdly because it does have root motion in it. I can click here to enable in place, and Mixamo will actually do a good job make this animation be, well, as the name suggests, in place. But I'm not gonna mark this because I'll show you how to do this in Cave directly, because Cave supports root motion, and you can even extract the root motion and do whatever you want, including moving the character. So let's click here to download this animation. This time I don't want to download the skin because I already have the skin in my project. So I'll click without skin and I'll click download. And you will see that now the animation, the FBX will be much lighter. It's not going to have like hundreds of megabytes. You can see it is only less than 1 megabyte. So it is finishing downloading and I have it done. So now I will go ahead inside my player folder and I'll drop this animation. So drag and drop the walking animation to it. In this case, you can see that it only have the animation and the entity template. The entity template, Cave will always try to create this for you. I don't want this because we already have one. And in the settings here, I don't want to create a subfolder. So I'll disable this. So I only want to import the animation. And I'll actually call this walk, player walk. Very simple. And I'll click import asset. It will import. And if I click to edit my player template, I can double click here as well in the scene graph and select the mesh here. If I double click the P walk, you can see that it is already running the walk animation, which is very nice. Again, it is weird, just like it is in Mixamo, because we haven't extracted the root motion yet. So let's do this. Here in the animation, I'll click one time to select, and here I'll go to root motion, root channel, and in Mixamo I know that the root bone is the Mixamo hips, so I'll click here to select it. Nothing changed because I need to select which axis I want. In this case, I want to extract the z-axis from this animation, and you can see that it is already working. The character is walking in place as we expect. And if you're curious, yes, in Python, you can select the animator and extract and get this root motion that it is currently extracting to set the walk direction for the character. So this will be very interesting if you want to do an animation-based movement, because many games, they prefer to do this by hand to have more control and etc. So it's up to you, but this is the Cave and the tooling available for you to do whatever you want. So this is Very good. Let's actually go ahead and download two last animations because I want to do an extra here in this video, which is to make this character move. I already have a tutorial on how to write the movement script, so I'm not going to be doing this again. But let's actually download the running animation. This guy is running very fast, actually. I want the not so fast running animation. See, this running animation is a little bit weird. This is also very weird. Standard run. I think this one is good. Yeah, this one is very good. Download, again, no skin. I'll click here and download it. And while it downloads, I'll actually go ahead and download a falling animation for my player to execute when it is falling in the air. You can be more smarter when it comes to the on-air animation, but this is a very quick and dirty way to make the character jump and have an animation. So I like this one here because the face is looking sort of forward. So click here to download. Here you go. So it downloaded and it is done. Okay, so I'll go back to the project and I will actually import these two animations. And this time I will go ahead and drag and drop the run and the fall at the same time. So I'll drop two animations here. Here we go. And then I will disable create subfolder and I'll go to filters and I will only let the animation filter be active. In this way, the two animations will have only the animation enabled. I'm showing you the filter, but before you ask, yes, you can if you want, you can individually go to the two FB axes and disable the entity template. I'm just showing the filters because this is very useful if you're importing like 100 FBX files at the same time. It will help you a lot. But I still want to rename the animation because Mixamo animations are all named mixamo.com, which is not good. So player.fall and player.run. Here we go. Now I'll go ahead and import. And if I select the character again, I have the fall and I have the running animation that do need to have the hips root motion extracted. Here we go. Now I have these three animations. You can see here that the project is a mess, is a complete mess, and Cave do have a very easy way to organize a project for you. You can simply right-click the folder and select asset settings, a group assets. And if I click here, it will group every asset by its type, which is very good. Then I'll click here in the entity template and I'll dissolve this folder because I want the player to be always visible. Very good. I will actually move the image textures inside the material. And I like to do this for some reason, but I will dissolve the armature and I'll put it inside the mesh and probably the material inside the mesh as well. So this way, the player folder here will only have the player component, the animation, and the mesh, because of course animation will have different animations, and the mesh is everything that is necessary to make this appear on the screen. So I like to do this organization, but you can do whatever you want, okay? I said that I will actually go ahead and make this character walk because at the moment it is doing nothing. So let's go ahead and do this very quickly. And I'm not going to show a tutorial on how to write the script to make the character walk because I already have the script in another project. So I'll actually do this. So I'll link the character, the video where I explain how to do it, and I'll try to put the link in the description as well. By the way, it took a bit more time to download, to save this time, because I moved all the textures. And again, if I'm not mistaken, they're all 4K textures. I'll click here and create a new asset, and I'll call this player controller. So this is a Python script. If I double click, I can edit this script. If I click here, I can stop editing, or I can just close the text editor tab. But first, let's actually configure the camera for this because it's easier and doesn't require a script. I will Shift A and I will add a camera inside my entity template. I'll rotate this in the y-axis on 100 degrees, 180 degrees. So if I click here in this icon, this gizmo, of course I need to press I to go to the rotation gizmo, or I can just select here on top. And if I rotate this, I can hold Ctrl to enable snapping, and as you see here, it's 180 degrees, so I'm happy with it. So I'll move this backwards. I can expand the preview here in the camera component to see what the camera is seeing. So if this is enough for me, I will minimize the camera. It's good. And then right click and I'll add a camera controller, third person camera. With this, all I have to do is adjust the head offset here. You can see there's a line here going out of the camera and going to the player. And I want to make sure that this line is in the player's head, because this will be used if there's a wall between the camera and the player to move the camera forward to this direction. So if, for example, this line is facing, well, this part, it's not going to be very pleasant to the character to move forward to this direction. So we prefer to go here. Well, I mean, it's your game, you do whatever you want with it, but anyways, man, I like how high resolution this model is. It's very nice. I can read the stuff. Very nice. So if I go back to the scene and play the game, you can see that I already have a camera and camera collision going on. And this character already have physics, but it doesn't move because we don't have a script to move it. So let's go ahead and press F5 and finish the player controller. I'll double click here and I will actually go ahead and paste the player controller script. Again, I'm not explaining how to do it because I already have a video on how to do it. So I'll just paste this. And we need here in the end to change the animation for the animation names that we have, because this needs to map to an existing animation. So if you remember, we have 4 animation: P idle, P fall, P run, and P walk, and you can see the 4 animations are here and they are typed correctly. If you have different names, you need to change the name here, otherwise the script won't work. So if I select the player, I'll click here and select the player root node, not the mesh. Do not mistake with this. And in the you can see that I do have the character component and the camera is a child of it. Anyways, I will right click here and I'll add, where are you, logic, Python component. Now I'll select the Python controller, the player controller, and the player controller script. So you can see that I have a run speed and walk speed, but I can adjust this, but if I go back here and play the game, it should work just fine. Let me press F5 and you can see the character is working. Oops, I have to quickly fix the player controller. I actually paused the video and typed the controller live here. I just didn't record, and you can see that now it is rotating just fine. The character is stopping, is walking, and if I run shift, it is running with the animation that we set, of course. And if I press space, it is jumping. You can see the jump is very high, but I can go ahead and edit the player. I'll click here to edit the player itself, and in the character component, I can tweak the physics settings, for example, decreasing the jump speed and maybe increasing the gravity and fall speed, but I think that just by decreasing the jump speed, it will work. You can see that, well, maybe it is too much now. Try 6. Here we go. Now we have still not realistic, but more gameplay acceptable jump speed. And again, we do have a badass character from Mixamo loaded and ready to go for you to start creating your games. So very nice, and let me know in the comments what else you want to learn from Cave, because I'm happy to show you a bunch more stuff. My name is Guilherme, thanks for watching, and remembering, Cave is in a launch discount, so make sure you enjoy it, and I see you in the next video. Bye!